Passengers on some flights over the weekend got a wild ride. Talking about strong winds push some planes faster than the speed of sound. Yeah, meteorologist Erica Page with the science behind the speed boost.
When we look at where planes fly, we've got to go way up into the sky to this thing that we call the jet stream. You may have actually heard of that. We use it a lot in forecasting because it's kind of our highway in the sky, as we call it, to bring us those different systems. But it's important, especially when you're talking about air travel. So let's go back to what happened over the weekend. And this is more specifically the scenario that occurred on Saturday, February 20th, where when you're looking at that speed at which these planes typically fly, it was the second fastest ever recorded by the National Weather Service office out in Baltimore that covers the Washington, D.C. area of 265 miles per hour, just 2 miles per hour shy of the all-time record set back on December 6th of 2002 of 267. That's incredible. Very strong winds at that cruising altitude of 34 to about 35,000 feet. So that makes you beg the question, okay, well, how fast, if your plane is flying through all of those strong winds and recording speeds for some flights over 800 miles per hour, were we actually breaking the sound barrier here? Keep in mind that your typical cruising speed is about 575 miles per hour. Remember that number because we're going to circle back to that because that is important in terms of how fast that plane is flying. So let's just take one scenario. We're going to talk about American Airlines Flight 120, which recorded a speed just shortly after takeoff of 840 miles per hour. That is incredible. When you talk about the speed of sound or breaking the sound barrier at Mach 1, you're talking about a speed of 767 miles per hour. So were people on an actual airline flying at the speed of sound and breaking that? We got to talk a little math here. Let's look at the equation because this is going to be very important. What you're talking about with 800 miles per hour speeds is that ground speed. So relative to a point here on the ground and you're watching a plane fly past you, that's the speed that's being recorded. But if you're flying into that jet stream and with the wind, well, then you got to factor in the wind speed and you've got to take it off because the environment that you're around, it's all kind of relative. I know that's kind of hard to conceptualize here. So imagine this. If you're at the airport and you're walking along one of those moving walkways, I'm walking at this pace, right? But all of a sudden I step on that moving walkway and I start going a lot faster. Is my pace going faster? No. Relative to what I'm walking on, yes, I'm going faster, but my actual pace is exactly the same. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying airspeed. So let's take this flight again. American Airlines Flight 120 from Philadelphia to Doha, which is out towards Qatar. It was flying measured at 840 miles per hour. But it was flying with the jet stream. So we have to subtract that 265 mile per hour jet, which means the actual airspeed of that flight was right about typical for what it should be flying, 575 miles per hour. This is the concept of relative velocity. So what did it do? Really, it just helped to boost, give it a little bit of a tailwind, and it helped it arrive 27 minutes early at the airport. So when you're talking about all of these different things, especially with the jet stream, sometimes it can be a little hard to conceptualize. Think about it this way. If you're flying with the wind, if you're flying with that jet stream, you're getting that tailwind, that's going to give you a little bit of a boost. Are you actually flying at the speed of sound? No, you're not. But what it can do is it can help you arrive at your destination a little earlier. Conversely, if you're flying against all of that wind, it's going to have a little bit more of a negative impact. It's going to have a headwind for you. So you are going to have to overcome that. The pilot will with a little bit of extra speed to try and get you there, but it may delay you a little bit more. So when you're talking about these strong jet streams, those are kind of the biggest impacts that we worry about here, especially when we're traveling, trying to get to where we need to be. But also know that if you're flying through some of those stronger jets, you may also encounter just a little bit more turbulence.